Welcome to Woman Witness Podcast, The Stories at the Well. I'm your host, Lia Fortier. Welcome back to another episode of Woman Witness Podcast, Stories at the Well. I'm your host, Lia Fortier, and today we're going to talk about childlike faith. And for many of us, as we grow older and we become more skeptical, we become a little bit jaded, and oftentimes we lose our ability to see the innocence in the things that we experience on a day-to-day basis. Let's just be honest with ourselves. We all have been through something in our lives. And usually whatever we've been through, the things that really stick to us are pretty significant events in our lives, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a childbirth, whether it is a new relationship, whether it's starting a new job, graduating, going back to school, a divorce, a death, a loss, whatever it is, these are pretty traumatic events in our lives that stick with us for a long time, which over time is how we end up losing our ability to see the light in new situations in our lives because we become a little bit skeptical, because we've been through something, so we kind of know what to expect. And at times, we may take that as a hint for us to maybe put up our walls and put up our blockers and say, you know what, this looks familiar. I'm going to go ahead and take a baby step into this situation. So I want to talk to some of you ladies today about childlike faith, the innocence of a child. So when we tap into our childlike faith, we begin to see our dreams, and our dreams become unwavering. We begin to get confidence back like children. You know, has anyone ever seen a child at a dessert bar, right? Kids are young, they're resilient, they don't worry about calories or anything. So when they go to a dessert bar, they will load up their plates with any and everything because they want to try it all. Not only do they want to try it all, chances are they're going to eat it all. They're not worried about a bellyache. They're not worried about, what the things that us as moms have to clean up. They are just going straight for what they know. They are innocent. And when we think about you and I, on the other hand, we're like, oh, I really want this piece of chocolate cake, but my belly is like, no, my butt's like, girl, don't do it. My pants are screaming, my, back rolls are rolling. Okay, anyways, I'm going too far. But you guys know what I'm talking about. We think about the consequences in everything. But I want to challenge you today over this next 20 minutes of our discussing childlike faith. I want you to just think of your innocence. I want you to remember back when you were a child and when you looked at the glass half full instead of half empty. You remember when you were a child and your parents said, don't talk to strangers. And if someone comes to you and offers you candy, don't go with them. You remember that? Well, why did they have to tell us that? Because we didn't know the consequences of kidnapping. We didn't know the consequences of someone taking advantage of our innocence. But I'm challenging you during this podcast to go back to your childlike faith. You ready? Let's jump into it. So before we delve into the topic, let's define what it means to have childlike faith. I want to take us to the Bible where it talks about childlike faith. Jesus spoke about childlike faith in several instances in the Bible and the importance of having childlike faith. For example, in Matthew 18:3, it says, Truly, I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. This statement emphasizes the need for believers to approach God with a childlike mindset, free of skepticism, free of doubt. So, childlike faith involves trusting God wholeheartedly, just as children trust their parents without questioning or doubting their intentions. This means believing in God's promises, relying on Him for guidance, and surrendering control to Him, and even in the face of adversity or uncertainty. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to talk about what trusting God wholeheartedly looks like. I'm going to be honest with you. There has been far too many times in my life where I'm questioning. I'm asking God, well, what am I doing here? And as believers, and for some of us who did not grow up in church, and I am one of them, I did not have the privilege of growing up in church. I will tell you that when we begin walking on this journey that God called you to, because there's no background, there's no training, there's nothing that says that you should be speaking and teaching anyone about faith, because you're sitting over here wondering, Lord, what am I doing? I can tell you those are times of uncertainty. And I can tell you that if you're listening to me, you are probably just like me, and you're saying to yourself, okay, Lord, I'm walking, I'm listening, I'm trying to find you in everything that I do. These are times of uncertainty. And I'm telling you is what God was speaking to me. He's saying, this is childlike faith, Leah. This is childlike faith, Kim. This is childlike faith, Ashley. This is childlike faith, Lisa. Listen to my voice. Trust what I'm telling you and keep walking, because I am sending you down a path that I know what's at the end of it. But you have to put away your skepticism and keep walking, keep listening to my voice, because I'm taking you places that you have never been. I am opening doors that you have never seen. And all I'm just asking you to do is walk. So I want to go a little bit deeper into what childlike faith looks like and what it involves. It involves humility and dependence on God. Children are often aware of their own limitations, and so they rely on others to meet them. In the same way, we as believers with childlike faith recognize our dependence on God in all aspects of our lives. When we approach God with humility and with a humble heart and submissive, we're acknowledging that we need God's guidance and His provision and protection. And I want to just talk about that for a minute. I want to talk about being able to trust God in every situation, because if you are anything like me, you want to have control over everything. Sorry, I know I do, and it is something that I am working on. It is something that I am working on. We as women, I don't know, God made us this way, right? I mean, I think He did. Yes, He did. I think He did, because I know I'm not out here by myself. Because normally, I mean, aren't we the ones making a schedule? We're the ones taking care of the kids, making sure the house is clean, making sure the bills are paid, making sure that everything is running smoothly. And heaven forbid, I don't know about you guys in your house, but if you get sick, I mean, everything just kind of seems to stop. I mean, that laundry is not getting done, it's piling up. I mean, I'm talking about control issues here, ladies, okay? All right, let me get back on track. What God is asking us to do as wives, as significant others, as daughters, as sisters, is we give up a little bit of control. Give up just a little bit of control in our lives. If we have a family member, if we have a best friend, a sister, if we have someone in our lives or a business relationship, a partnership that's just not going the way we want it to go, we have to be able to go to God with a humble heart and say, Lord, help me. Help me control the things that I can't control. Lord, I have this child that I know you gave to me, that I know you entrusted me with, but Lord, help me, because this is too far outside of my control and I can't control it. Lord, I know you gave me this parent, this family member, Lord, and I know they're suffering through this illness. Lord, I know I can't control it, but Lord, help me. I come to you. I'm humble. I'm giving you all my dependence, even on the areas of my life that I can't control. I'm asking you for help. So being able just to come to God with humility and with a humble heart and ask God, help me. Help me control the things that I can't control. Childlike faith is not just being naive or ignorant to a situation. Rather, it's about having an open, teachable attitude and be willing to grow and learn in our relationship with God. Just as children are eager to discover new things and absorb information, we as believers with childlike faith are curious and open to the truth and teachings of God. Think back to who is in your life. Who has God allowed you to be in their presence? Who are you listening to? What church home, what group do you belong to that is feeding into you the word of God? I want you to look at all your relationships, and this is probably a good time to do some fall cleaning. I don't know if that's such a thing, but it is. Fall cleaning in your spirit, in your life. What are you feeding yourself? What good books are you reading that is telling you that you are fearfully and wonderfully made? That you are made in the image of God, that God dwells into you. God wishes to see nothing but the best. God wishes to prosper you, not harm you. Who are some of the people or some of the environments that you are around that God is using to teach you and to guide you? I want to talk to you about cultivating childlike faith. So how can we cultivate childlike faith in our lives? It is not an easy task, but it is possible. One way is by embracing curiosity and wonder. Children are always curious about the world around them. They're constantly asking why, when, and seeking to understand. I'm going to just take a little break real quick, and I'm going to tell you that if you have children or if you're around children, challenge yourself to answer their questions if you can. Even as parents, and I know it can get annoying because I have children. And I get it. And sometimes you just think, oh, they're just asking why to annoy me. They just ask, but no. I challenge you to go back and answer them. Well, why, Mom? Because I said so. Well, why, Mom? Because this is best for you. Well, why, Mom? Because Mommy has been here for a very long time, and I know the things that I have planned for you. You don't know what I have planned for you. So when I'm telling you to get up, brush your teeth, go downstairs and eat, because I have something planned for you that you don't know. So why don't you go ahead and do it, and then you'll see what I have planned for you. Answer their questions. Give them that validation, because that's childlike faith. They don't know. So I challenge you with that one. Okay, let me get off my gentle parenting that I'm still learning, y'all, though. I'm not over here judging y'all. Anyways, by embracing this curiosity, we can regain a sense of wonder and openness to possibilities. Another way that we can cultivate childlike faith is by letting go of our fears. As we grow up, we often become more curious and more cautious and more fearful of failure. Children, on the other hand, are fearless, and they pursue their dreams without worrying what others may think of them or the possibility of failing. By letting go of our fears and embracing the unknown, we can open ourselves to the possibilities that lie ahead. Oh my goodness. When I think about that, it takes me back to my childhood. It takes me back to when I used to be just fearless. And sometimes if you have a fearless child like me or like you, you know, they used to call us bad, but we weren't bad. We were just fearless. We had childlike faith, okay? We had faith to believe that we can go and do whatever it is that we decided to do. If we decided to bust out a dance in the middle of a church or in the middle of a school, or if we decided to go ask anyone any questions that we felt like it, that's what we did. And we weren't bad. We just were fearless. So if you have a fearless child, don't mess that up. That's who God created them to be. When I was younger, I grew up watching my mom sing in the choir, and my dad used to be a preacher. So he used to preach. So I did not grow up in church, but I did spend the first maybe 3 or 4 years in church before my dad stopped preaching. And it's a pretty big story with that one. And I remember mimicking him as a child. And I would put on my own sermons and I would preach. I would line up all my animals. If you were in the house, you were downstairs at church, and I was the preacher and I was the choir. And then I would put my brother on the piano, and then I put my little brother on the drums, which is the pots and pans. I had childlike faith. I was fearless. I didn't know what I was teaching and what I was preaching. I just opened up an old Bible called The Good News for Modern Men that my granny gave me that I still have to this day. And I would just flip it to a scripture and I would just read it. And I would read it with a lot of extraness. Yeah, it wasn't bad. I was fearless. So if you have that fearless child that maybe writes stories and they will sit there and read it to you, listen. Actually, I have a writing class that I do for children. So if you have a child who writes a lot, enroll them in my writing class, because that's what I do. I listen and I help them and we expound on them and we share them. So cultivating childlike faith. Let go of that fear and believe that you are wonderfully made, and believe that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. When you're going out and you're going to pick up the kids in the pickup line, don't turn away, talk to somebody. Make it your business to talk to at least one new person that you don't know a day. Ooh, this is going to be a lot for some of you who struggle with that, but I know you can do it, because we have to cultivate that childlike faith, and that's getting out in this adult world and doing some of the things that we're not comfortable doing, right? So another way that we could cultivate our childlike faith is by maintaining our same sense of trust and innocence, and simply believing in the innocence that God's promises and his goodness, just as we did as a child. So the same way that we believe that God would do it when we were children, that is the same way that he will do it even when we're adults, even when we're facing bigger problems. Let's say if we were in school and someone brought cupcakes or someone brought candy and they're giving them out, and you know if the teacher's giving them out, everyone's going to get a piece, right? Or if there's a pizza party that was on Fridays, you know that you were going to get pizza. You just had faith to believe that what the teacher said that they would do, they will do. And that's what God is asking us to do. That's what God is commanding us to do, is believe his promises, believe his goodness and his grace. Believe that he will bring you through whatever it is that you're going through, but you have to have that childlike faith to believe. And it simply means being willing to surrender control, have a humble heart, and approach God with a sense of wonder and curiosity. Oh, how much better would our lives be if we approach every situation like that? I know it's easier said than done. I know fighting with that child to get their homework and they're throwing themselves on the floor and you're like, Lord, where are you in this? Where are you at? I know dealing with that coworker on the job, that attitude is just so bad, like they have it out to get you, like they have it out to test you every day. Lord, where are you in this? Lord, I surrender. I can't do it myself. Lord, here, take this. Help me through this, because I know you are trying to teach me something in this instance, and all I want to do is approach it with childlike faith, Lord. And I know that I'm going to go in there. I'm not going to let it ruin my attitude. I'm not going to let it ruin my day or damper my mood. I will not sit in my car at lunch. I'm going to go into the break room. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to laugh out loud watching my YouTubes. I won't let anyone detour my day by their actions, because I know the plans that you have for me, plans to prosper me and plans to give me hope in a good life. The Bible speaks of the importance of having childlike faith, and it's so important that we approach every situation with such. I want to leave us and close us out with this last segment of two of my favorite female authors. And these authors are incredible, and they inspired me throughout a big part of my growth process, and I'm still growing. But I want you to pay attention to Maya Angelou and Jill Briscoe. These are two incredibly women authors, and not just authors. They've done so many other profound acts in their lives to impact the world around them through their childlike faith. They had faith to believe that they can write something. They had faith to believe that they can change the world that they're writing through their teaching, through inspiring young people, young women, young men to go out and be the best versions of themselves. But they had to start somewhere with faith. Despite facing numerous challenges and hardships, both Angelou and Briscoe never lost their sense of wonder, their trust and their hope in God to transform the world and create positive impacts in the lives around them. Maya Angelou was an acclaimed poet, a civil rights activist. She had a childhood full of difficulty and trauma. However, as she grew older, she discovered the power of her voice, using it to convey messages of hope and love and resilience. Angelou firmly believed in the power and the importance of faith and spirituality, and this played a vital role in her writing. Her childlike faith can be seen in her poems on the pulse of the morning, which is a good one, which she recited at President Bill Clinton's inauguration in 1993. And in the poem, she expresses her belief in a higher power and God, which calls us all for unity and understanding the compassion among all people, not some people, but all people. Through her work, Angelou inspired others to embrace their own faith and use it as a catalyst of change in promoting equality, justice, and love. Jill Briscoe, a renowned author and speaker and co-founder of the International Christian Ministry, also possessed an unwavering childlike faith, and she impacted countless of lives. Briscoe faced personal struggles that she talks about in many of her books, many of her poems, many of her speeches, where she talks about her personal struggles and challenges throughout life, but she consistently relied on her deep trust and her deep faith in God. Her writing included such as Prayer That Work, Here I Am, Lord, Send Somebody Else. Please read that one. And Faith Is Enough to Finish reflects her childlike dependence on God and her passion for sharing and transforming the power of faith in lives of not only herself, her family, and others. Briscoe also led her to travel the world, spreading the gospel, spreading the good news of Jesus Christ through her testimony, her ministry. Jill Briscoe also instilled hope and childlike wonders in countless hearts, encouraging others to trust in God's plan and make a difference in their own communities and their own families. Both Maya Angelou and Jill Briscoe are some of my favorite women authors because they were able to demonstrate the incredible act of having childlike faith, and through their words and through their actions, through their poetry. So if you're a big poet, and you just love poetry, look into these ladies, Maya Angelou and Jill Briscoe, because their poetry, their poems are so heartfelt. They're written from the heart, and you can feel each and every word. They bring you into their prayers. If you are a beginner and walking in your faith and you just want to learn how to pray, there is a book from Jill Briscoe, and I believe it is A Prayer That Works. And she also has a series on YouTube that I will definitely drop into the description where you can find it. Prayers on YouTube. And she also has an amazing ministry where you can go and you can purchase some of these books that I mentioned today. And she will walk you through what it is like to pray, how some of us struggle with praying. Lord, like, Leah, how can I even ask God for childlike faith? I don't even know how to pray. Jill Briscoe wrote a very good book that can help you do that. Both of these women and many other women are a testament, are a witness to the power of having childlike faith. Both of their faith adversity and breaking societal barriers, they both believe in their own voices and the importance of sharing their stories. It's so important that we share our stories. So I want to close this out with just wrapping this up, ladies. I want to thank you so much for tuning into our episode on childlike faith and what it means to have childlike faith. And through our journey of walking through childlike faith, it requires us to let go of our fears, to embrace our curiosity, and trust ourselves and our dreams. Trust the path that God lays out for us. And just like the women authors that we discussed, we too can shatter societal norms and achieve the greatness when we tap into our own childlike faith. So, ladies, let's dare to dream again. Let's dare to live again. Let's dare to eat as many desserts as our little bellies and soul desires. Let's believe in ourselves. Let's change the world around us. Let's start with ourselves, our families, our neighborhoods, our schools, and eventually impact the world around us. I want to thank you for joining us on another episode of Woman Witness Podcast, Stories at the Well. In this episode, we discussed childlike faith. If you found the information in the episodes that we share, if you find them inspirational and you find them encouraging, we ask that you take whatever episode that you found that spoke to your heart and share it with another sister, share it with a friend. Hopefully it can give them a bit of information, or hopefully it can speak to their hearts the way it spoke to your heart. Because we believe that by sharing your stories and uplifting and empowering one another, we believe that we can change the world around us. We will all be able to be witnesses to God's goodness and His grace. Do you believe that you have a unique story, or that you would be a perfect guest in our show? Well, we want to hear from you. We ask that you contact us at info@womanwitness.com. And that's info@womanwitness.com. And we'll also leave the information in the description below. Until next time, remember to continue being a witness to God's goodness and His grace, and keep walking. Don't you dare stop. Keep walking because you are so close. Keep walking. Don't be fearful. Keep walking in the purpose, because perhaps, just maybe perhaps, you were created for such a time as this to write and tell your story, your truth. Until next time, thanks for tuning in to Woman Witness Podcast, the Stories at the Well. Talk to y'all later.